So election day is come and gone, but let's be very clear. Ever since we've kept stats, black unemployment has been twice that of white unemployment. In places like Chicago, where I live, it's actually something like 3 times. That wasn't on anybody's ballot to vote on. Let's be very clear about that. And so again, for black people, we have to be very cognizant that yes, the political process is important and we need to use that process, but we need to do so in a way that actually benefits us and gets to the root of our issues. Marion Barry, former mayor of Washington, D.C., he did an interview in 1986 with Black Enterprise. And he said it's easier for black folks essentially to gain political power. It's easier to do that than to get economic power. And so he felt like it was his business as a politician to make sure that he directly addressed that. And he did. When he started out as mayor, minority-owned businesses were getting something like 3% of the city's contracts. And he came in and he required his agencies to make sure that there was like a 35% rule, that he wanted 35% of the volume of contract, the dollar volume of contracts to go to minority-owned businesses. And by his third term, that number was way up there. And he was really directly responsible for producing a black middle class, for creating black millionaires. And the same is true with Maynard Jackson in Atlanta. He used the political process to really distribute resources and contracts and to create that black middle class. Let's be clear, that's not the conversation we're having in 2018. And so yes, voting is important. Yes, the political process is important. But let's not be duped into thinking that when people talk about, oh, healthcare, this is important, it's on the ballot. I heard a lot of that this cycle. I heard about healthcare, pre-existing conditions and healthcare. Nobody's talking about 47% of black men between the ages of 20 and 24 in the city of Chicago are neither working or in school. That wasn't a conversation, even by black politicians. That was not the conversation. So once again, it just points to the need for us as black people to have self-determination. No one is going to do this for us. No one cares that much. Again, even your black politicians, yes, I think a lot of them are good people and they want to do some nice things. But if you think that black politicians representing a broad base of people can make their primary agenda to attack black unemployment, you're crazy. That is on us to do every single day. So we can talk about healthcare, we can talk about some of the criminal justice issues, and they are important. But let's be clear, middle class black people absolutely have confrontations with law enforcement, absolutely are racially profiled, and sometimes things can go really bad. But as a rule, the people who are really coming into contact with police day to day, who are really being criminalized, who are really being preyed upon, are poor black people. And until we do something about the massive need for employment for low-skilled and unskilled poor black workers, criminal justice reform, I mean, it sounds good. We can say, okay, we won't lock up as many people for marijuana, or we won't, we'll try to curb certain practices. But those people, poor and black, are still going to be vulnerable. We have a massive complex that we've created. Criminal justice, prison industrial complex. These prisons exist. We got to put somebody in them. They will find a new way. So until we create a need for those people, because let's be clear, in the post-war period, after World War II, something like 1 million black women alone, just black women, left domestic service and went to work outside of the home. The nation was so in need of labor that even black women got on for a second. And so when you need people, you can't really criminalize them. You can't lock them up in jail because you need them. And right now we have an economy that just doesn't need a whole lot of people, right? And because of historical oppression, because of racism, the last person to get put on is going to be poor black people. So I'm saying we as black people have to create that demand. We have to be the ones to ensure, because again, it's not on your ballot. You can look up and down that ballot, every single race, it was not there. Yes, we should vote. Yes, those things are important. But at the very root of it, at the very core, is how do we create a need for all these extra people? That's the largest issue of our day that nobody's talking about. We still have massive unemployment and underemployment, particularly in poor black communities. Stock market, they don't really notice that. That's not what they get into. A lot of these companies still make record profits. And so for them, if it's not broke, don't fix it. They don't need you. So how do we create a demand for all these extra people? I'm not counting on any politician to prioritize that issue anytime soon. So for us as black people, yes, go to the polls. Yes, vote. But the day after that vote, let's be very clear. If we don't create a need for our own people, particularly our young people, the rest of society will never find a need for them.